PhillyNet Squared presents Crowdsourcing Change, applying the social web to some Philly nonprofits. This program was recorded February 4th, 2014 at the Friends Center in Philadelphia. Our presenters are the Public Interest Law Center of Philadelphia and West Philly Local. At the lectern to open the program is Seth Horwitz, the founder of PhillyNet Squared.
So, thank you for coming tonight. I think the weather is keeping a few people away, but we might get some more people drifting in as we proceed. So, for how many people? Is this the first time they've come to Net Tuesday? Okay. The other people will be bored by this. You may be bored as well, but I'm going to go very quickly through a little bit of our background here. So there are dozens of NetSquared groups around the world. We're all affiliated with TechSoup Global. PhillyNet Squared is one of them. And the theme that we generally tend to resonate with is using the social web for social change. And the way in which we manifest that primarily is through these Net Tuesday meetings, which we've been having since May of 2008 on a monthly basis, the first Tuesday of every month. On the second Tuesday, a week from tonight, we'll have a planning meeting, which is done by a conference call, and anyone is invited to participate in that planning meeting as well. Contact me for details. We also have a website and a Google group, a listserv that gets used for people making announcements, asking questions, or otherwise interacting with people that they think are of a like mind. This is the past year of presentations that we've had, the past year of Net Tuesdays. I've highlighted the crowdsourcing change, which is a recurring format that we use every 3 months usually. And those are some of the past crowdsourcing change events, and then we'll be doing it again tonight. Coming up, as I mentioned, next week there's a planning meeting, and those are the dates. We're still finalizing the events for those dates coming up. We generally stream this event. We're not using our normal streaming technology. We may not be streaming at all. But if we do stream, we're considering it to be an experiment, as podcast Steve Lubetkin is trying out some new equipment. We are the guinea pig, the willing guinea pigs. So it may or may not be streamed.
But we need an extra camera or two.
Yeah, no, you don't have enough cameras there, Steve.
No, it's not enough.
We're also supporting a Twitter back channel. If you want to tweet from within here, you can use the hashtag of PHLNET2. Andrew Sather back there is tweeting from the room and managing that tweet stream, as much as the tweet stream can be managed. And you might have some participation from outside of the room. In addition to the event itself, we're about networking. So please sign in the sign-in sheet and leave a business card. We'll try and circulate that information. People should be wearing a tag, which allows them to tag themselves with some additional information. And we have a strict no questions too stupid policy. The back of the tag is a little bit outdated in terms of dates, but essentially what we've said is the same principle. So a little bit of housekeeping. We have some food over there. Please eat it. We don't want to take any home. And if you're here at the end of the night and there's any left, you must take it home. This is a LEED certified building, and we do composting and recycling. Everything, all the food, the meats and cheeses included, are compostable, as are the plates and the utensils and the cups. So you can put them into the compost thing over there. The stuff isn't, the hoagies are wrapped in wax paper. Pat, wax paper is not compostable, right? It is. Okay. While we're here, though, why don't we, you want to say anything, Pat, about the building? Pat McBee is the executive director of the Friends Center, the building in which we're sitting, and I'd like her to just welcome people.
Well, the most important thing I have to say is it's great to see people here. We just love to have groups like this in the building, and many, many groups do come and use our building. The best ones, I guess that's not a nice thing to say, is it? Well, actually, the ones I like the best are the ones that are working on social change, so we're glad you're here. I'll do a little blatant advertising to say that we'd love for you to refer groups to us for meeting space. We have spaces for a little group of 5 or a presentation to 700, so that covers most of the sizes of meetings. And we also have some office space available. There's right now about 20 nonprofit groups who are housed here. And maybe you know somebody who's looking for space. Thanks for being here.
We do have Wi-Fi in the building here. If you need that, use the Friends Guest Network. We may be doing video recording. We don't have a video-free area, but I want to point out that we will be using microphones. So during the discussion period, we'll be handing out mics. I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers to run the mics. And that's not so that you can be heard in the room, because most people can be heard within this room. It's not that big. But in order that the recording can pick up the audio, we want to be able to do that. If you parked in the parking lot across 15th Street, you can get your ticket validated at the front desk here and get a discount. And for those who are interested, stick around after the event, and you can come around for a drink or a bite afterwards and continue the discussion informally. Our sponsor for tonight is the American Friends Service Committee, which is one of the tenants of this building. AFSC does peace and social justice work around the country and around the world. And that's all I'm really going to say. At this point, what I'd like to do is have people just introduce themselves, say who they are and where they're from, and we'll be able to get started in a moment. So I'm going to pass around the microphone. The microphone also acts as a talking stick, so you'll know who's supposed to be talking. As I said, my name is Seth Horowitz. I work here at the American Friends Service Committee. In the IT department, I work on information architecture and helping to organize information in a usable way. And I'm pleased to be here. So let me pass this on.
Hi, Mitch Collier. I work with a company that does health communications for the federal government. And I'm also just very interested tonight because I had an involvement with Hillcop many years ago through the environmental justice program that Jerry Balder had started. It's glad to see they're still continuing their good work.
I want to point out with this microphone, you have to hold it pretty close to your mouth.
So, my name's Jeff, live in Philly here, work in Radnor for an optimization company, just looking to be involved in Philly tech in some way.
Hi, I'm Tim Sifter. I'm a librarian at Drexel University for the College of Computing and Informatics, where they do fun social media research and other fun stuff.
So you just met me, Pat McBee. I'm the executive director of the building.
Hi, my name is Chris Beckstrom. I work for a small IT company, and I'm also involved with some nonprofits, such as the Swedish Museum and Parish over in Camden.
Hi, I'm Tammy Dennis. I'm from Philadelphia. I currently work with New York Life, and I've come because I was hoping to learn something about using social media.
Good evening. My name is Janet Puccino, and I am the collection supervisor at the Regional Foundation Center at the Free Library of Philadelphia. We have a section of the library on the second floor. We're devoted to helping nonprofits at any level, whether they are just beginning or whether they've come to fruition and have just lost a board member. So come on in and use our resources. They're all free.
Good evening. I'm Tamwa Wright. I am the Executive Director of Pomosa International, which does community development work in Malawi, Africa. And I was at the Regional Foundation Center earlier, and now I'm here, so this is awesome. Thanks for all the free resources, Philly.
My name is Sam Cohen. I have a small web development company called New Media Solutions. We're based in Ambler now, and almost all of my clients are nonprofits, including American Friends Service Committee, and I'm very interested in social media and strategy and also social entrepreneurship. In fact, it looks like next month we're probably going to be co-sponsoring a Net Tuesday that's going to bring together the social entrepreneur group and the Net Tuesday group. It's tentative anyway, but it looks like it's going to happen. So glad to be here. Thanks.
Hello, Joe Rosato. I will be taking notes tonight. I am also, by chance, not the best speller, so please point out if I do anything atrocious. I have been heading to this for about 4, 5, 6, 7 meetings or whatever, and basically to network, so I can connect up with other people that also are interested in things like this.
Hi, my name is Avi Satlow. I run a nonprofit called Avi Cares. And, yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Sather. I work at Jenkins Law Library, and I'm a regular here. And as Seth said earlier, I'll be the voice of the internet. So I'll be monitoring Twitter and sending you all Twitter questions and suggestions. And I'm looking forward to hearing what our presenters have to say.
Steve, do you want to say anything? Okay. All right, well, I'll hand it off to Denny at this point, and we'll get started.
Welcome, everyone, once again. Thank you very much for coming out. As Seth pointed out, the weather has a habit of keeping some people away these, when it gets like this. I did notice, by the way, that our question, which is one thing I hope to do or see in 2004, just so you can know how much weather is on people's minds. I saw someone said flowers, spring, warm weather, sunshine, get to the beach. So it seems like everyone's already, looking forward to our getting away from this winter, which has been quite an unusual one so far. But thank you all for coming out, and we're looking forward to a very good evening. If you're new to the program, as Seth had mentioned, it is a recurring program. It's been very popular with our group. It's been a lot of lively conversations, lots of good suggestions. We've had some wonderful organizations come up here and talk about what they do and explain how they're using social media. And a lot of the presenters have come back and told us that they've gotten a lot of good suggestions that they've been able to put into use. So we're hoping to repeat that. And also, while the inspiration for the program is for a crowd to offer helpful feedback to the presenters, it really has worked out for us to learn a lot about some really good and worthwhile nonprofits that we might not have known about otherwise. You're coming here and telling us about yourself, so we really appreciate your sharing on that level as well. It really helps us learn about a lot of good organizations in our community. Now, for those of you who are new to the program, here's how it works. Each presenter will explain what their organization does. I'll talk a little bit about how they do their marketing. They may show their website, their social sites, that sort of thing. Basically, their overall approach to how they use marketing to reach their goals and objectives, as well as then focusing on social media. And then once that's done, we open the floor to you, which is why it's called crowdsourcing. You're the crowd that we're sourcing. And we ask for you to offer some helpful suggestions. And as you'll see, I don't know, Seth, do we have the slides with the questions? I didn't know if they were, okay. It's okay. So before any of the presenters come, we usually ask, would you have a few questions that you want to ask the crowd? So these will be, the first group that we do have up is the Public Interest Law Center, which I'll explain first, but as you can see, we normally they have some questions that we throw out. And then also, things that come up. So while you're talking, if you bring something up or people notice something, that's how we generate the conversation. So the way it's going to work tonight, each organization will have up to 20 minutes to present and tell us about themselves and how they're using social media, and then the crowd gets 20 minutes. And we probably should be okay tonight as far as timing goes, but if by chance we start running tight and sometimes we do have to move on, please do not be offended if, I don't mean to cut you off, but sometimes if we just need to move to the next presenter, then we may need to do that, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first group that we're going to start with tonight is the Public Interest Law Center of Philadelphia, which is a longstanding advocate of civil rights that works for equality and justice by driving meaningful change and fighting laws. I made this part up. This is not from your website, in case you're wondering. I took a little. I wrote the intro, so you're free to borrow or correct. No, okay. See, I could see their faces. They were going like, "What is she saying?"
Just wondering where it was on the website.
Okay. I took the words and I crafted them. But anyway, so that's a longstanding advocate for civil rights that works for equality and justice by driving meaningful change and fighting laws, policies, and practices that perpetuate discrimination, inequality, and poverty. Representing some of the region's most vulnerable populations, its clients include people with disabilities, racial and ethnic minorities, low-income individuals, and ex-convicts. The Law Center uses high-impact legal strategies to help ensure these individuals have access to the resources that I would imagine all of us take for granted to lead our lives, which include high-quality education, healthcare, housing, employment, a healthy neighborhood, and an unencumbered right to vote, which in these times is, I mean, they're all important, but that one's very topical these days. So the questions that the Public Interest Law Center originally presented to our crowd, and as I mentioned, you know, there's many more things that we can talk about, but these are just sort of teaser questions, are once they show us what they're doing with their social media content, they would like feedback on, you know, what we feel is or perhaps is not working with, you know, how they're using their social media. Also, what can we do to make our posts more likable and shareable? And then finally, how can we get people to meet us on social media and ultimately become financial supporters? So basically, they want to see how maybe they can get some fundraising going on social media. So the presenters for the Law Center are Barbara Bacholtz, who's the Director of Development and Communications, and Elizabeth Kendo?
Very good.
Okay. Who is an ex officio member of the board. So take it away.
Great. Well, that was a perfect introduction of kind of what our mission is. Again, we work on, you know, several major issue areas. The top ones being providing high quality education to students in the state, healthcare, housing, employment, healthy neighborhoods, which encompasses a lot of our work with, like you mentioned, our Garden Legal Justice Initiative, and also the right to vote. So just to give you a couple of more concrete examples of the work that we've been doing in the community, you might have heard a little something about a voter ID law and a lawsuit surrounding it. And so that was actually spearheaded by PILCOP, and we just got a really nice result from that litigation. We also do the Garden Justice Legal Initiative, which we provide pro bono legal representation and technical assistance and community organizing to help our community gardens and neighborhood projects access tracts of vacant land throughout the city and secure the right to use that land that they've already been developing and creating into these great green spaces. And lastly, education has obviously been a hot topic lately, and we're preparing to file a lawsuit against the state of Pennsylvania for failing to provide fair funding formula for public education. So those are kind of our hot topic issues right now that we're actively pursuing. And I'll let Barb show you guys a little bit of our social media platform. So we really have done this work pretty much ad hoc. We just, a few years ago, our director of development took on some social media work, and then we hired an associate who, that position has kind of come and gone. So we've definitely had trouble sustaining this work, but our social media and our online presence. And we have some limited resources we're working with. But where we stand right now is we have a website. It's about 2 years old. It's we're not still as thrilled with it as I think we were previously. There's some limitations to updating it and just some needs that we have, but it's pretty, which is good, and it does have a lot of information on it. So it's not the easiest to navigate in terms of getting to the information you want, but once you get to one of our cases, this for example is our voter ID case, we do a pretty good job of keeping it up to date, and we also keep, for those lawyers, which are a big part of our community, we keep all of our legal documents for each case on the website. We work with a lot of pro bono attorneys. We get a lot of funding from law firms, so it's kind of a way for us to keep our communication up with them, and a lot of times it's of interest to those folks. So that's just a little, we break it out. We have our 6 project areas here. And each project area has our current cases, our past cases, an advocacy section, which, depending on the project area, we use more or less, and issue news and updates, which kind of came around before we were really using social media. And so
that's a little bit gone to the wayside because we're able to do those issue news and updates on social media faster and in a more timely fashion, and then our resources. And we also have things like, our events and publications and all the standard stuff. So I started running our Facebook page in March of last year. Someone was running it before then. It wasn't quite as regularly updated, so we've been trying to update it more regularly. We have about 550 supporters. One of our challenges with Facebook is we always get really big spikes in followers when we have a really prominent case. So with this voter ID decision that just came out, we've got 25 new likes pretty organically, which was really great in a very short period of time. But our problem is that that's our biggest case, our voter ID case, and so even though that case is going up to the Supreme Court, probably it's going to end at some point soon, and so we still have trouble sustaining engagement beyond when we have kind of breaking news from our work. And so we've been trying more and more to make this page more visual, whether it's from posting the articles or from creating some of our own graphics, or doing what we can to post photos and that kind of thing. We're not getting a ton of likes and shares. We are on big things, like I said, like our voter ID case, but it's not a ton of engagement. A lot of it, or a number of it's like our board, our communications committee of our board, who are really great, and trying to get some of that organic virality out there. But we definitely still have a ways to go. We also keep a Twitter feed, which we have been doing fairly well on. When I started about less than a year ago, we had, I think, like half as many followers. So it's been growing, and we do try to live tweet events. So we're mostly happy with it. I think it's, that's just a matter of staff resources. We also have our executive director who's on on Twitter rather, and I actually thought she had kind of fallen off the bandwagon, but I looked back and she's been doing a really great job, which is good. So that's helped. We have a few other staff members who have actually been involved as well. She's really slow starting, but we're really lucky to have an executive director who sees our communications and digital marketing as a really big portion of our work. So she really puts a priority on that. Then we have two LinkedIn pages. We have our company page, which we do occasional status updates for, not really methodical. We also have a LinkedIn group, and this was an idea that grew out of our board communications committee. And the idea was if we could get folks to join our LinkedIn group, then as they moved jobs, we would have a really easy time keeping their contact information, which is a really great idea. We have had a hard time getting people to join the group. It's a little hard to advertise and kind of hard to market. Like why should I join this group? It's a little intangible, but it is something we want to do because it is actually really helpful. With our donor database, we get mail back, and then we can go on LinkedIn and see where that person is, and we find they're at a new firm, and we can update our donor database, and so it's a really helpful resource. We just need to be a little more systematic about how we get people involved in the group and kind of make it worthwhile. And then the last thing, well, not the last thing, but the last major thing is we do broadcast email as well. So we do a monthly newsletter. It's pretty brief. This one's a little lengthy, but we try to break out 4 or 5 stories from what's going on. We do link our social media in our broadcast email. And we also do some, targeted broadcast email when we have specific events, or, for example, when we got this great voter ID ruling, we sent something out to our major list. It's about 3,000 subscribers on there. So that's kind of the overview. We do the traditional marketing as well that's not digital in terms of direct mail and other things like that, but this is kind of the overview of where we are with our social media, and I think we'd like to grow it and have better ways to market it and have it be sustained, but we also will still continue to have limited staff capacity, which is kind of where our goals and our challenges meet one another.
Okay, so Seth is going to get the 2 mics out. But before we start with that, while he's getting that, I'm just curious, Are there some particular goals and objectives that are specific to what you're trying to do? I know you mentioned fundraising you might want to do through social media. What is it that you're
Sure.
planning to do? Just wondering.
I mean, fundraising for us is definitely a big one, is turning social media into dollars. But what we're really trying to do is increase our overall visibility. So we've been around for over 40 years. We do a lot of really good work. We do a lot of, I would say, like niche work that a lot of places aren't doing. We're a pretty agile organization. We pick up some projects that other folks might not be willing to pick up, or a little more difficult or hefty to pick up, or a little more controversial. And yet we're not really known quite as well across the city or across the region as we could be. So that's really our main goal, is to increase our visibility, I would say.
Okay, a couple of quick things. First of all, we are very informal here, and we want to make sure the food gets eaten. So even though we don't have the back passage like we often do, please feel free to get up, walk over, eat some food. No one will be offended. Everyone will think that it's part of our informal atmosphere, which it is. So please, feel free to do that. I also want to mention that while we have this discussion, Joe Rosado over there will be jotting down some bulleted notes. So as you say things, we'll try and put that stuff up there. If you feel like it needs to be corrected or embellished, shout out, or just tell Joe to put another note up there. And we'll try and accumulate some notes as we go along, which should help the presenters as well as the folks in the room to be able to have some context for what we're talking about. And so we can switch back and forth between the various different presentation media as we go forward. And the last question is that I'd like 2 volunteers to hold the mics, to run the mics to people. And the job is really not that difficult. And you get the chance of being able to get Denny's attention to say that you have a question. So can I have 2 volunteers? Mike, Mitch. On the water. Who else would like to? Okay, I'll do it. Okay, and the rules for this is Denny is actually the one to choose who is speaking next. So she's the one you need to get attention of, and she'll tell us where to bring the mics.
I feel that everyone should have ample time to say their questions, but just so that there's an order that we're not all talking at once. So who wants to start off? Go ahead. You have some thoughts on
I have some thoughts on the website. I noticed there were a lot of pictures. I don't see any video.
Right.
And one of the things I thought was, especially with the work that you do, and I'm going to just use the example of the voter ID law thing. Okay. It would have been wonderful to see a video of someone discussing the outcome and the impact of your work. And I thought that would have been something that would have been really key in terms of being a visual person and being able to connect and see the passion behind that work. I had like 7 things, but I'm going to let someone else.
Thank you for that, Lily. That's really good.
They may say something already.
Okay.
Sam? Oh, sorry. Just, I think an event like this could be really beneficial if you've had any ideas of things that you've been thinking about doing, or a consultant told you, because this could be an opportunity for like specific campaigns, because it's kind of general right now. So there's a million pieces of advice we can give, but I would want to throw the question back to you. Have you had any thoughts about a certain type of campaign, or using social media in a certain way, or any ideas even? If you could be a little bit more specific, we could like basically, you can test the water a little bit, see how we might respond to that.
That's a great question. I don't know that I have an immediate answer. Probably because I still feel like we're new. I mean, well, we have some small internal goals that we've been working on. So, for example, getting the number of likes on our Facebook page up, right? Or getting the number of people on LinkedIn to follow our group. You know, we understand that the more likes you get,
that you get some kind of, I'm not a tech person, I'm just a lawyer, you get some kind of magic power from Facebook and more people are able to see your posts. So even just like simple kind of goals such as those, I think would be really helpful for us.
But you haven't had any specific strategies suggested, or you're pretty, I just wanted to,
No, I mean, our strategies are really, it's not like a unified campaign, which is maybe what, maybe that's your answer, maybe that's your answer to your question. Like we have some strategies, like, we're always going to put our social media stuff on our printed materials and talk about it at events and talk to our board about it, like we're going to do that to try and increase, but we haven't, I don't know that I would say we have like a campaign that we've been working off of that has the ultimate goal.
Well, one of the things I didn't notice on your site is you said that a lot of lawyers give pro bono time. So, people respond to human stories, and lawyers are people too, and some people might say otherwise, but you have these attorneys giving their time. Is there a reason you're not featuring their stories? Because that seems like it would make it personable. The attorneys themselves have their own social networks, so if their efforts are highlighted, they get recognition, and then they could tap into their social networks, or their friends would spread that, giving your organization recognition. So have you thought about that, or are there political reasons why you shouldn't do that?
No, I mean, we think about like a story bank all the time, which is something we need to get better about doing. A lot of our work is, we call it high impact litigation, some of it's class action, some of it's advocacy, and we just traditionally haven't been great at pulling the stories out, which is something that's on our radar that we need to do both from our clients, but that perspective is one I hadn't even really thought of. I thought we have quotes from pro bono attorneys, but getting them to, doing their story, featuring their story, and then having them splashed out to their network is a great idea. And there's no reason, there's absolutely no reason not to. Should definitely do it. Thank you.
Mark?
Hello. And can follow up on what Sam said. I think that's a great opportunity that you have to highlight some of the work that you and your colleagues do, and to focus on maybe one person. So, for instance, Amy Lara. You're missing the boat, missing a great opportunity. You should chronicle the work that she's doing around the land banking issue. I've known her for a number of years, and in the past year, actually in the past 5 or 6 months, I've been in 3 different venues with her, and most recently up in Kensington, or Fishtown, she gave a presentation at a tech-oriented gathering, and she's out there promoting that issue. And is she still with your office?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
and I mean, we chronicle her stuff somewhat, but you're right. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, even if
feature it a lot more.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity to gain visibility around the work that she's doing. And one last point is crowdfunding. I mean, it's all the rage these days, but with 3,000 people, and you could do the math. If 10 of those, each of those people, went out and accessed or tapped their networks to promote what you're doing, and also some sort of crowdfunding campaign that incorporates those organizations that have, and people that have benefited from your work, asking them to tap their networks for donations to support what you do. It could be a windfall.
Thank you.
Before I go on to the next one, so I would have just fill in the blank there. So what was the name of the firm so you can, chronicle the activities of XXX? So could say
Amy Moore Khan.
Yeah.
Okay, just so it's the XX. All right. Okay. Yes, Seth, you have a question?
Yeah, well, also following up on Sam's point about highlighting some of the lawyers. A lot of folks we've talked to in the past have really emphasized the idea of segmenting their audiences. And I don't know if you really addressed this in some of your remarks, but if you think of all your stakeholders, you probably have at least half a dozen different distinct audiences, for whom each of which for whom there might be a different kind of strategy that might be effective. So the clients themselves might have stories to tell. The donors might have something to talk about, what they're getting out of it, the kind of satisfaction they're getting out of it. And the various different segments of the audience, it may be easier to focus on those as independent segments as opposed to just the big crowd of folks out there.
That makes
makes a lot of sense. Could I just ask you to bring up your Facebook page again? I was sending you that, so the content once more.
Facebook page.
So most recently it's been, pretty much about our voter ID case, and we haven't done a great job at really our content management. We talk about it all the time in our staff meetings that lawyers, we have 10 lawyers or 8 lawyers, and we're all of them are reading really interesting reports, and they're all doing different work, and they have great content, and we just need to translate that onto our social media, so it's a little less self-promotional, and it's more of like a content-rich resource, which is something we know is something we really need to do. So this is all voter ID. This photo is a thank you to some volunteers that came by one night. We were hiring. We've, a few other, not our content, a little bit of that here and there. Not a ton. Some photos. So it's a mix, and we're definitely not the content resource we could be, based on the folks that are in our office and the things they're doing every day.
How about some humor? Lawyers.
Yeah, it's hard for us.
What do you call a pill cop lawyer?
I don't know what. Do you have
Superhero.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, we're not the most colorful. We're a lot more colorful for sure.
Just in your the email newsletter that has 3,000 recipients, are those stories or articles also available on the Facebook page?
Yes, they always link to the website usually. So they also appear probably at a different time on the Facebook page. We never, besides the icons, the logo, like the Facebook and Twitter logo at the top of the broadcast email, we never link a story to Facebook, but I don't know if that's something we should think about doing. But theoretically they are, but we probably could integrate it more.
But I'm thinking both as far as linking to the Facebook, but also just Facebook being a separate place where people can find it.
Right. Those are kind of silent right now, I would say. Yeah, that's a good point.
And just keep in mind, I guess you have a lot of events too, right? So what generates conversation, because the whole idea of social media, social aspect and engagement. So what you're doing is good. You're putting your information up there. And I saw some of it, like asking questions. It looks like you did that anyway. But more of that sort of where you're asking the audience. That will encourage people to participate. Sorry, Rebecca Heidelberg, and then we'll get. And I saw your hand.
You said you send out emails. I mean, there's a whole lot of things you can do as far as, a newsletter that's going out. Now, if you're sending that out, one of the things they talk about is A/B testing.
Right. We haven't done that yet, but we talk about doing it. We talk about it.
And I don't know with your emails if you're just sending that out as a mass email, if you're using a mail source like a MailChimp or something like that.
Yeah, we use Constant Contact.
Okay.
So we do manage contacts that way, but we talk about the A/B testing a lot.
Do you get this opening stats and stuff for that?
Yeah, and so at the beginning of last year, and we have yet to do it for this year, but we set goals for our communications metrics, which we track, and our email broadcasts, we're actually pretty close to industry average for a nonprofit legal service provider. So our open rates are about 20 to 25%, depending on the content, which is usually, depending on the list it actually goes to and the bounces, a little over 500 people, and our click-throughs are pretty low. They can be anywhere from like 15 to 60 per email. But they're okay, they're standard. There's a lot of room for growth. We'd like to get to 40%. That was our goal for this year. We didn't make it, but.
I'm going to for that. I promise.
So I have kind of a librarian type perspective on this, and I wonder how much PillCup does, has a teaching mission and is sharing tips and tricks with other organizations that are out there, and how much any single case has like a case study element to it that would give you higher visibility nationwide if it was promoted as such, more as a case study.
Right.
And then I also wondered, would you mind looking at the website again where you're sharing the documents? Because part of what I've seen good learning organizations doing is, yes, they share the documents that are substantive to their work. They also invite a conversation in on those documents,
Okay.
and that could take a couple different forms. It could, if there's some like user login or registered user on your site kind of feature that, if that's valuable to you, people sharing tips and tricks. I know lawyers are a little bit like magicians and go off and do their own work, with their door closed. But then there is some benefit to sharing too, I think, in any industry, and that would be something to consider. And I don't know, in academia where I am, sharing citations is a big thing. And if there may be other tools, non-standard kind of social media tools you could borrow from academia, like Zotero, where you can share bibliographies really easily, and people search Zotero all the time to say, hey, I need, I need, all the sites that are relevant to this kind of public interest fight. And now I have a bibliography. Boy, that was quick. I can, hit the ground running kind of thing. That's an academe kind of.
Thank you.
Well, but she was promised. She has 9
I was going to comment on the research reports that you have too, that following his suggestion about these segmented topics, I think that should be segmented more, because you can do more with, instead of just having the one line, at least give some kind of short blurb as to what that particular paper or topic was in regards to attract a person's interest. And I thought that if your major goal is to help promote fundraising for you, maybe you have it there, but it is real small, and I could not see it from where I was.
It's up at the top here. Well, it's here, and it's up here.
Okay, I just thought it needed more prominence on the
It's
website.
also not very. It's we use PayPal right now. It's not. We don't love it. So.
Okay, and I thought if that was segmented by itself, there's more that you can do, like tying. I don't know if you have an annual event you do that attracts the fundraising for you. A segmented section will allow you to highlight that, what your special event is when it's coming up. I don't know if you have the events page up there either.
We do, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, it's going a second time here, but I'd like to raise the idea that it's a lot sexier to join a cause than to join an organization. So your Facebook, now I'm not saying, your website obviously is your organization, but if your Facebook page, you have 550 followers, but you're doing something that a lot of people could get behind. And I just would raise the issue, and it is like, instead of being the Facebook page for the Public Interest Law Center, maybe it's the Facebook page for public interest lawyers, or maybe it's a Facebook page for law for public good, or it's, instead of, your Facebook page doesn't have to be just about your name of your organization, and I'm a follower of this organization. It might be a lot more compelling for people to join and follow because they're being part of a greater cause. So I would suggest, if you really want to have success and maybe get a much bigger following, think about your mission and maybe sort of branding your social media around what you're about and what you're trying to accomplish, rather than making it about your organization.
Yeah, I would, add to that. I was thinking about actually more with your LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's what
because they're like, they have a lot of groups. You can attract people. They don't have to be in Philadelphia or whatever, but there are people that would be interested in your causes, number one, or even whatever they were. So certainly in in LinkedIn, it seems like an appropriate place. Not saying that the others aren't, but that seems like an easy way to get a conversation because they're already sort of there. They're looking, if you look at all the groups, there's tons of groups there for that kind of thing. So,
My question is more to the people who've been giving suggestions than to you. They've told us that they don't have the staff capacity to do everything they want to do. And a lot of the suggestions, like, you ought to have some video or more detail or more time. And in contrast, Tim said, oh, you can get this very quick bibliography thing. So my question is, if you have limited time, where are the sweet things to keep your focus on, and what's the fluff that would be nice? I'm sure they have more ideas already than they're implementing.
Thank you. That's a great question.
Want to take that up?
Well, actually, yeah, the suggestion I was going to have actually addresses that a little bit, although I can think of the example better for these guys than for the Friends Center, but maybe you can try and apply that. Well, my question is, how many public interest law centers are there in the country?
I have no idea.
Hundreds, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think a low effort, possibly high impact kind of activity would be to follow them on Twitter and try and friend them on Facebook. Many of them will, accept the friendship on Facebook and follow you back on Twitter. And then when you put out your tweets and your Facebook posts and stuff like that, your audience is a much broader audience than just the folks here. And they'll be motivated to participate in that. As you will be motivated to perhaps retweet some of their things that are going forward. If they have a success in Albuquerque in public interest law, that might be a success you want to celebrate and let people know about, and they would want to reciprocate with that same sort of thing. So I would suggest that your audience is really much broader than the Philadelphia audience here, and you have a whole nother community, maybe it's another segmented population, I don't know, of your fellow public interest law folks who share the passion for the particular kind of social work that you're doing.
I would add that that's the way Facebook wants you to play the game too, right? That's the way it's set up. The algorithms are set up that way that they value certain things more than others, and one of the things they value is you going out there and talking on other people's pages, right? And that's how that opens up a lot of the discussion, and I think you would see probably friend requests increase off of that.
Right, and what Mike said very quickly, just to emphasize, commenting on their pages. A little comment with a link back to your own page, it can go a long way.
I'm also I'm a one-person shop, and I always have the issue of time and resources. And one thing I've really gotten comfortable with is, focusing most of the energy and time on the website, because all the other social media stuff should really drive traffic to the website where they could make the donation. Until we can get the donation stuff elsewhere easily, most folks don't usually hit that donate button until they're on your site. So I think that would be a better focus of energy and time. Maybe even separating, because I know the donate and sign up for the newsletter is like the same section box and stuff, but maybe separating that. But also not necessarily focusing too much on how many likes on Facebook, because I think it's not just how many likes you have, having a large number, it's really the people who take action, so you want, it's who is joining, not necessarily just getting that number up. And I know like Facebook does all the ads and all that other stuff to increase your, but it does, is it really going to lead to people taking action or increasing your visibility, which is what you really want. And I was going to say something else about it. Oh shoot, I think I totally forgot because my phone buzzed and my mind went. So I would definitely say website to me goes first, and then everything else afterwards because it's driving traffic there.
So, I just thought of something sort of somewhat related to this stuff, but the idea of chats, because he's saying that you do have with your audience being so wide, you could either do a Facebook chat or a chat or something, and you could, announce it, and you could invite some people that don't, they're in this area or whatever to participate. And you can look up, how you do that, but you have someone leading it, and then you have some people in your office who are ready to ask questions and do stuff, so so that way it's not in case, because, you can hope for the best, but it's not necessarily that you're going to get a big onslaught, but you get people to ask, and then you invite some people that you hope, or you can have an event where you're actually having sort of a live chat while you're doing it. But anyway, I'm just thinking that because your advocacy, like the things that that you advocate for, that you are working towards, are things that are they're very broad issues, so people feel very passionate about them. So I think we get that you could get pickup, have people becoming involved in that type of thing. So how are we doing the calendar?
We're all right.
We
can begin wrapping it up.
Okay.
It's about that time.
Oh, did you have one more thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
I just remembered my thought because I'm part of Parents United, and Hillcop did a lot of work with Parents United, and I kind of feel like sometimes if you ask, you receive, right? But so if anyone had asked, hey, make sure you like Hillcop's page, I'm like, oh, sure, no problem, because it doesn't take a lot from me, and I already felt like you were doing a lot of work. And if that ask came from, Helen Gim, whatever, saying, folks, you know how much they're helping us? Check out their Facebook, go on their Twitter, and it only takes a quick second. So I think, use the groups you're helping to actually get more likes on the other stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to add earlier on here, since I'm taking notes, I'll point to it. You mentioned that someone had mentioned about the video, and I really believe that. Like, if you have a passionate topic, text doesn't do it. You have to wind up getting people recorded, and that helps. So.
And you can use a phone too. You can use your iPhone. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Even as nice as Steve's getup is here, you really don't have to go quite that elaborate in order to get it done. All right. One more and I'll
I'm wondering, you had mentioned that there's very broad topics that people are very passionate about, and I'm wondering about the usefulness of narrowing it down to one or two people that have benefited from the actions that you have, or the cases that you have won. And possibly, what came to my mind is children and puppies. If you had a person who benefited from some of the land that you were able to secure for them to develop, and this benefited a whole group of people, possibly just a 45-second testimonial each month down in the corner of the website, and especially if it's given by one of their children. My mom was able to do this, and then that person is just going to tell half the world to look onto your website, and there could be people involved in that half the world that are working similarly with you and possibly can combine forces with you. But that's why children and puppies came to mind, because people just love that type of thing. So I feel as though you have to make it a little more personal instead of just these huge, broad topics where, yes, we all like to think about changing them in this broad way, but it's just these little steps that seem to really bring the big changes.
All right. Okay. We're going to move on. So first of all, will you be here afterwards?
Yeah,
Right?
and this was.
Okay.
So
So
Thank
they'll both be here afterwards, and you're welcome to continue the conversation. We're going to start with our next presenter. Which is West Philly Local, a community-owned news website serving the people of West Philadelphia. And I will let Mike give you the exact parameters of it, but it's covering an area that runs roughly from the Schuylkill River to 52nd Street and Market Street to Woodland Avenue. So I guess that encompasses, University City, and I don't know what the specific neighborhoods are.
Yeah, there's lots of names of places in there.
And its goal is to provide timely news and information and to connect residents to local businesses. And the questions that West Philly Local, among them, would like to ask our crowd are, I paraphrase some of them just so you, is it necessary to change voice and style between social media platforms? And if yes, then, how might your voice perhaps be different on Facebook than Twitter or YouTube or blogging or whatever you're doing, Instagramming? I guess you can't
you're not talking on Instagram. But in any case, you know, that type of thing. How do you diversify your followers and/or conversations on social media? And what are the best ways to start a conversation on Twitter? And I will repeat the questions when Mike is done. But our presenter is J. Michael Lyons, who is co-founder of West Philly Local.
Thanks. I'm a walker, so. Can I borrow a wireless one? I'm a walk. Excellent. Yeah, as far as shameless self-promotion goes, I'm all about that. So the one thing I would say is we're talking about time and staff. During the day, I'm a professor at St. Joseph's University, and I teach in a communication studies department. I teach this kind of stuff. And one of the things that I would say to you guys is we just got about $1 million and change grant we're establishing a nonprofit consultancy where we send our students in their senior year to nonprofits to help with their social media footprint, to help make video, to help do anything that they do that they've learned over the course of their time at our university. So we got a little over $1 million to set up this thing, to do this. And so I'd be happy to talk to anybody. That's different than this, but I'd be happy to talk to anybody after this if they're interested in that. I just sent a tweet to a colleague to ask if we had a Twitter handle set up yet for that. It's called Beautiful Social is the name of the consultancy. We've worked with about 60 nonprofits already, ranging in size from the United Way to the Diaper Bank, which is like my favorite nonprofit in Philly. If you guys have heard the Diaper Bank, is this woman who gets diapers for people who need them. They're expensive things, right? So she is this amazing diaper getter person. And so we worked with her, and it was great. It was a great experience. So again, if anybody wants to talk about that afterwards, I'd be happy to send you to the person who's running that this semester to do that. So West Philly Local, my wife and I started this in 2011. The winter of 2011, we came to West Philly after graduate school. Both, my wife Yulia and I went to graduate school together, and so we came here after that about 6 years ago, and I had lived in Philly before for 25 years or so, but much of my family lives in West Philly, or used to. And when we got here this time, 2008, I guess, we understood that there was a big change going on where we lived, gentrification, for lack of a better word, a lot of different people moving in, but there was a kind of a lack of news sources there. And so we started this. My background is in journalism. I was a journalist for the Associated Press for about 15 years. My wife was a journalist too, and ran a newspaper in Russia, Eastern Europe. That's where we met. And so we had the right background. She's also an IT person. So we had the right background to do this. So we just set up I'll pull up the site a little bit later. We just set up a WordPress site. My wife hacked it up a little bit, but it's we just customize a WordPress theme. We get about 2,000 visitors a day. So we get about 50 to 60,000 unique visitors a month. Can you pop that? I'm not sure what's on there. We'll keep going. Oh, I never did the path. Let's do it like this. We have about, I never set up the path for it. Sorry, it's a Prezi, if you guys know that.
Keep clicking, or?
No, that's okay. You can just do it. We have about, let me see if I can go through it. We have about, I'm also not a, sorry guys, I'm also not a PC person. We have about, I'll just go through it. We have about 3,500 Facebook followers. We have about 3,000 Twitter followers. We've gotten a lot of support from this from the beginning. There was obviously a need and people jumped in. There's a couple of questions that I would add, since I sent those questions to Denny, that I would add about things like Discuss. I don't know if you guys use Discuss, the forum application Discuss. We've seen our comments and our discussions on our site drop through the floor since we went to Discuss. And I think it's the persistent identity that you have to have on Discuss. You have to have a persistent identity across wherever you go if you want to comment. People get weirded out by that. What did you use before? What's that? We used just a regular WordPress plugin, which allowed complete and utter anonymity, which was awesome in some ways, because we would get hundreds of comments, literally. Now we get maybe 10, 15 is a good number for us now. But what I've noticed is that some of our old readers that would comment, I knew their pseudonyms, are going other places, like their own Facebook pages, to have these conversations. It's very interesting. But that comment as content drove a lot of traffic to our site. People would come back again and again and again just to follow the comments and the discussion. But they don't so much anymore. So we've lost a lot of traffic. We've also, another thing I wanted to ask you guys, we've also lost, Facebook has changed their algorithm or something. Yeah. And you guys, I don't know if people know this, but they change it all the time, but I don't know what they changed it to recently, but our Facebook shares and stuff have gone through the floor also. And I just wonder if that's a change in algorithm. Any of you propeller heads, something about that. I would love to know why that is. We use, speaking of voice on Facebook and Twitter, one of the things we do on Facebook is we try to have conversations. I notice a lot of news sites like us try to have conversations where it's essentially a marketing tool for their content. And that's really one of the things that we've tried to avoid is, and predominantly the stuff we put on Facebook is our stuff. But I'll tell you what, cats in West Philly, that is the content that drives traffic. You put cat pictures up there, forget it.
Add some babies in your goals.
We try to, but I bring this up because we try to do a diversity of content, not just our own. I mean, we tweet or put Facebook stuff from Philly.com on our site all the time, as long as it relates to West Philly, and that drives so much traffic to our site. I mean, that's part of it, not to our site, but to our Facebook page. So we kind of see three different platforms. We see Facebook, we see our website, we see Twitter, all serving three different purposes. And I've had conversations on Twitter with people who I know have never been to our website, I'm sure. They live in West Philly, they have conversations with us, they engage us on Twitter, but I'm sure they've never been to the website. I can just tell by the way they talk. So that's something we've discovered, is that there are Facebook people, and these overlap, of course, but there are Facebook people, there are Twitter people, and there are people who actually go to the site. And these are three different groups of people, I think. Again, there are some overlap. But the names you see on Facebook, again and again, we've kind of come to know them. Let's see, what was on my prezi? There was three stories. We were talking about crowdsourcing for change. We do little tiny changes, like the voter ID thing, which you guys have done, has been amazing. We do little tiny changes, like let's get somebody some clothes whose house burnt down. So that's the kind of stuff that we do, neighborhood kind of stuff. So the stuff I was going to show you was like a story we did about this really great relationship we've had with a chess club at a local elementary school, where a new teacher came in and said, you know what, I'm going to take these kids that are in the chess club and I'm going to take them to the national championships in California. I need $20,000. And so he wrote us an email saying, what should we do about this? And so we ran a story about it, and he just kept coming back, and we kept running stories and running stories. The only time we've ever paid for a promoted post on Facebook is they asked us for money, and we said, what we can do is probably not, I mean, we can give you money, but if we give you $100, what's that going to, difference is that going to make? What we did is we took the $100 and we promoted a post on Facebook. We paid for a promoted post, and they raised the $20,000 in the course of 3 weeks. And that wasn't all us, of course, but the conversation that we had on our site, both on Facebook, Twitter, and the website, was amazing. So that's the kind of change I guess we do, and there's other stories. We helped raise a lot of money for a woman. You guys may have heard this story. Who's last summer her son drowned in a city swimming pool in Cobbs Creek, and she lived right near me actually. We had a fundraising thing for her. We raised $800 in the course of a few hours, all on Facebook, getting people to come to a local cafe and just give us money. Like, can you give us $20? And people lined up to do it. So that's a demonstration of the power of Facebook and its impact locally. What else was I We do. So we do Facebook, we do Twitter, and again, stuff on Twitter. I would say our percentage of content of our own that we put on Twitter, so just promoting our own content, is probably about 30% of our tweets. 70% of the tweets is just asking people questions or promoting other content that's related to West Philly, just to try to start a conversation. I remember when the Breaking Bad finale came up, we got a conversation going. I think we got 150 new Twitter followers in the course of a few hours because we just started having this Breaking Bad conversation, which came up again actually in Facebook the other day. Those of you who have seen Breaking Bad, somebody in West Philly stole an ATM machine. They literally ripped it out at a gas station right here. So this was a conversation that got started because we just, wow, hopefully nobody's head will get squashed. If you're familiar with Breaking Bad, there's an episode where bad things happen to a guy who stole an ATM machine. And so we just started this, and it kind of started this thing over this little conversation. And that happens a lot for us. And we just, somebody said you got to put some humor in it, and I think that's totally true. If you're serious all the time, people, I think it undermines what a lot of people use social media for. If you're just constantly barraging them with just mind-blowing, serious, thoughtful content. Like, there's a reason why cute cats get traction on Facebook. So I guess that's how we're using it now. The questions we have were what we always have, and it's what I talked about the last time I was here, which is how do we broaden our reach? How do we broaden our the conversation that we have on these social media outlets? I guess that's it. Sorry.
Are you concluding your...
I think so. I think that would be my conclusion to this. I might have more on Prezi. I can't remember. But I think that would be it.
This concludes the presentation part of this too. Okay. So
Yeah, I take that.
Resume report. Okay, so I'll just repeat the questions again, and then he's mentioned some other things. I'm sure that will stir people's reservoir. Is it necessary to change voices and style between social media platforms? If yes, how so? How do you diversify? And I actually wasn't sure what you meant by that word diversify, because that has many meanings. But
Yeah, I can explain that. I mean,
Yeah,
that would
okay.
be probably useful
Yeah.
for me to explain.
Yeah.
One of the things, can we do it now? Because it's a thing that we face all the time, and that is, it's the nature of our neighborhood. You're a middle-aged white guy with a certain education level. How do you expand that conversation to include people that aren't just like you? Right, so that's what we struggle with. And our neighborhoods, are West, you guys know West Philly, I mean, it's in diverse ways. And so we're really trying to avoid that kind of talking to people like us and diversifying.
Okay, all right. And then what are the best ways to start a conversation on Twitter? So those are the ones, and then you also brought up some other things. So who wants to start? Laura.
Well, you have a big personality. You're a professor, so you're used to being in charge. Did you say you're a middle-aged guy? I don't believe it.
Really? I use a lot of moisturizer.
Okay, so let's assume that you're middle-aged. You're certainly a white guy, so therefore you're used to being in charge, generally.
I would say that's probably.
Okay, so maybe you should step back and just let the crowd take over and listen. Shut up, listen. Now, I'm not saying that
No, I
just
hear
to
you.
you, because I say it to myself and my colleagues. We have a lot to say, and in spite of ourselves, sometimes we have to remind ourselves to stop talking and listen. And you might want to come up with some creative ways to engage the very dynamic and diverse groups that live in West Philly. I was born and raised there, and I've seen it evolve over the years. And you have a rich, incredibly rich population there, from Girard Avenue to King Session, River to 63rd Street. I don't know what your boundaries are, but just open it up to them and let them go and create content. Cross barriers and ethnicity and geography and income and class and skin tone and all of that stuff. And see what happens.
No, we've talked about this before, you and I, in various channels, but it's, this whole thing is an experiment, and I don't want to go off too much of a tangent on this, but the whole thing is an experiment of, can you target, can you do that and still have an advertising base or a revenue base? That's what we're trying to figure out. Can you do that? Can you just throw it open? We're going to talk to everybody about anything, and I'll be interested to see, because that's what our plan is. We don't want to do this for many years, so we're slowly trying to spread out. It's just my wife and I. One writer works for us, but it's a great advice.
And along those lines, I would say, aside from babies and dogs and cats, especially for like the type of thing that you do, everybody has their favorite this, that, whatever. So I mean, I think, especially for social media, perhaps, when you're saying fill out questions or trying to generate, you could, let's like talk about, I don't say love's common, like a common denominator, something like that. So maybe those types of topics that are so broad-based, but that people feel very passionate about.
Totally, yeah. When you live in a quickly gentrifying neighborhood, even that becomes political.
Oh, does it?
Restaurants and food.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Maybe this might be controversial, what I want to say, but I live in West Philly, and I kind of feel like you should be consistent and authentic, and who you attract and follow is who follows you. I mean, they're aligning with what you're putting out there. Obviously, something is attracting them to that. So I mean, that whole question about diversifying and changing voice, I think sometimes you can just end up being inauthentic and putting yourself in a really awkward thing, and also maybe even losing some of, like your original mission and what you're trying to do. So I've struggled with that myself, because we have a Christian organization and I have all sorts of different friends from all sorts of different backgrounds. And once we had put like something on our site it was clearly very religious, and I said, well, maybe I should take that part off for my non-Christian friends, by saying, no, that's not going to be consistent, and for somebody else to go see some other way that you're talking in one venue versus another, you know what I mean? So I know the place where we live. I know there's a lot of changes, but I really believe in authenticity, and people can feel that across your different mediums.
I think that's a great point, and the moment, my wife says this all the time too, the moment we seem inauthentic, people jump on it immediately. Like, we got a comment yesterday about, who do you think your readership is exactly? When we kind of went outside of what we usually do, it was interesting. But I don't know, we don't know really who our readership is. That's part of the problem. Survey.
I would say, for that particular reason, that you shouldn't change your voice and style, because if you change your voice and style based on the media, you're losing your branding throughout that process. And in terms of extending your reach for diversity, I can understand why you want to do that. And I think that you still have to be consistent and true to the vision and mission of your organization, your company. But I also think that you can extend diversity by special occasions, especially you tend to do that in marketing anyway. Special dates and calendars of the year, having a special discussion, simply focusing on a particular group or organization that's outside of your normal comfort zone. Okay, for instance, if you want to reach Latinos, then you have Cinco de Mayo Day. If you want to reach young African Americans, the month of February would be the best opportunity to say, this is Black History Month. Let's toss out a discussion or idea on something that may attract young African Americans. Okay, not saying that it's changing your voice, not saying that you're bucking your audience, but just saying that you're opening up to a different thought for this particular time frame and tie it to some type of special event. I know September is the month for Latinos. That's a another opportunity, okay? And if it was me and I was looking for advertising dollars, I will probably get to know some of the organizations who would tend to advertise, like maybe PICO, who have different culture groups who do certain things at certain times of the year, and reach out to them and see if you can get some marketing dollars from them.
That's a good point. One of the great discussions that we've noticed every year that we have is, and this started simply trying to pass information along to people, is when some of the Middle Eastern restaurants in West Philly closed for Ramadan. We did a roundup one day of just like, you want to go to Saad's? It's closed today because of Ramadan. And it started this amazing conversation about Ramadan and the changes around the mosques in West Philly. And it's exactly to your point. It grew out of something that was never supposed to be that.
A couple things as far as knowing who your readers are. I guess you have an idea because of who writes in or who responds via Facebook or Twitter, but do you really know who your readership is? You might be able to, I don't know what the tools are that are affordable, but there might be a readership survey that you can there's these surveys that come up if you go to a web page and randomly selected visitors will get a pop-up that says, will you participate in a survey? And you might be able to collect some demographics and interest, areas of interest from them. Also, you may be able to develop guest writers, guest bloggers. I honestly did not have a chance to look at West Philly local websites. I don't know what you have, but everybody wants to, be famous for 15 minutes. So if you invite people to write as it's kind of a privilege to be able to publish in a publication, so to speak. Also working with high schools in your area, in the neighborhoods. They may have English class, teachers might be able to suggest to you some students who would be interested in writing a little column on an ongoing basis or just as a special feature.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
First, a question, then I have a suggestion. I'm amazed by this, actually, because I've been following local media and what's been happening with Patch. And I mean, are there a lot of other people succeeding the way you are? Because I feel like in many ways you should be teaching us, because I feel like the local media, this type of thing, I've seen so many failures, and it's great to see you thriving and doing it.
Yeah, I know, I'm not saying I don't know if it's thriving, but it pays for itself. The big discussion, I guess, among people that do this is the Patch. You guys don't know, Patch is this kind of a huge syndicate owned by AOL that tried to do this kind of a cookie cutter approach to this in just millions of different places, and is now, I think, just basically hanging on by the skin of its teeth. I think that I was saying earlier to Denny is, I think so many factors come into play here that you have to be in the right place, you have to have the right voice. I don't think you could take what we do, pick it up, put it in Northeast Philly, and it would work. I mean, somebody tried it there. I think it's just, we have a lot of the right mixture of stuff, and that is enough, and internet penetration, enough education among the people that, I don't know what it is, but there are people that make a living doing this, and we have friends in Brooklyn who have a few of these that do fine.
Yeah, that's great. So I guess the suggestion with the organizations that I work with, one of the things that I've seen be most successful is tapping into, well, how can I say this? So recently with a client, we did a contest, and we used Facebook likes as the voting mechanism. So we had our, participants make a suggestion, and then the one that gets the most likes wins. And it seems like it had an enormous traffic and Facebook increase because every vote basically goes out to that person's social network. Really brought a lot of traffic, increased likes, and it seems like you have an opportunity to do it. It could be things like what's your favorite restaurant, or it could be tell a story growing up in West Philadelphia. It just seems like this is being a venue where you can have a lot of opportunity for sort of informal types of contests where people can post content, and then other people could sort of vote with social media, and it'd be fun, but it would also be a way to sort of grow your audience.
That's good.
Yeah, and along the lines of the contest, even this, we're saying like weapon photo contest, too, because it's visual and people can vote or something. But again, it would be some topic, but the same idea, people voting, one of so, all right, I'll get to that, then we'll go to this.
Well, I was actually thinking about something along the lines of what Mitch said with a guest blogger, and then what you brought up with photos, but with a lower barrier to entry than a guest blogger. I was thinking that you could offer individuals within the community and choose your, diversify for any given week, or groups or organizations, and say, give us your top 5 pictures over the next week. You choose the pictures. So this doesn't affect your voice. You still have the voice, but you're just saying, here's our guest photos coming in. And I can imagine kids in school and other kinds of things really taking some time to do that, and having to choose among them because they have to select the 5 best and bring that to you. And then you're able to have those voices expressed without sacrificing the authenticity of your own voice.
I do a little bit of stuff. We're lucky that we live in a lot of talented people all over the city. Really have a lot of talented people. And so we have been able to use some professional photographers and things who do different projects. But I think people, what we've seen over the last couple of years is people like amateur content more than professional content for whatever reason. On the side like this.
All right, so you're here, I'm going to go here and we'll back there. Steve, come back, step from behind that.
On the subject of photographers, you might consider using student photographers. My daughter is at Antonelli Institute up in Glenside, Erdenheim. Antonelli Institute of Photography, they have a lot of kids who are looking for opportunities to publish. Probably wouldn't charge you too much, if anything.
Yeah, that's great.
I guess I was actually just going to make a comment. I agree with, I'm not sure, the gentleman over here said about patch. I mean, hyperlocal is definitely seeing a lot of dead soldiers along the way here. Every block was another one, and they went under. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they have now been resurrected.
Yeah, in Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I know Adrian Hamadi, the guy who started that, and I met him at a conference once. But, NBC bought them and just made a snap decision to put them out of business, or it's closed. And there's still not really been explained why. I don't think. Maybe
I know a few things there, but I could talk to you. But so they're in Chicago, I guess a week and a half ago, and so they're obviously going to go from there into other cities. But I think it's great that you guys have been able, to succeed in doing what you're doing. So I don't have any suggestions, but so you're familiar with every block.
Yeah, a little bit. There are a lot of these things, and I think one of the things that we've discovered is that there is no recipe for success for this. I think that's Patch's problem, is that you can't scale this necessarily. That's what Patch tried to do, is scale it, right? I don't know.
Too many. They require too much staff.
Yeah, and there's too many kind of idiosyncrasies of a neighborhood that, that you bringing out those idiosyncrasies is what these things are all about for us. Is that's what people love about their neighborhoods, the weird things, idiosyncrasids that happen. It's the weirdness about the neighborhood is something that maybe didn't come across in Patch so much because they had to produce this kind of, kind of content that was similar across places. I'll shut up.
I would like to talk to you afterwards about the St. Joe's grant.
Yeah, Beautiful Social is what it's called. Anybody who's interested.
Thanks.
I'm so sorry I said that earlier.
No, I took it exactly the way you meant it.
I think you do a great job of presenting.
I didn't take it.
If you can't think of it, I know she has a suggestion.
Just go.
If it comes to your head.
Well, thinking about getting the diversity, I also live in West Philly and have for 40 years. Is there are topics that are of interest across all the slices, like Easter bonnets or favorite Thanksgiving the thing I most like to eat at Thanksgiving dinner as a kid, or coming right up, community gardens, which really go across all the neighborhoods in West Philly. So stories that pull in all those things that we have in common in West Philly.
Yeah, and those are the stories when we do them that pull the most in. I mean, there are important things: education, crime. We all have that in common too.
Somehow I never heard of you before. So there might be other ways of reaching into the neighborhoods too, through the civic associations or whatever, or advertising in civic association newsletters, because somehow West Philly local went right past me.
Yeah, but you're not alone. There's a lot of people.
Okay, and we'll now turn, did you remember?
I just want to say there are. Have you reached out to or spoken to any of the longtime journalists who write in West Philly?
There's a lot of them. Yeah. I mean, you mean to write for us?
No, just to.
Yeah, I mean, we talk to them, like people like. I mean, I don't know who you're talking about, but I mean, we talked to like Patrick Kerkstra lives there. Ryan Briggs, who writes for City Paper, lives there.
That's more citywide.
Okay, are you talking about like?
I'm talking
University City Review people, West Side.
No, not even University City. I mean, West Philly is a big area, so most people think University City. Many people think University City when you say West Philly, but West Philly is Overbrook, it's Carroll Park, it's Mantua, it's Kensington, it's King Sessing. I mean, not Kensington, King Sessing, and on and on and on. So there are a lot of long-time respected writers and journalists covering those neighborhoods. So it might be interesting. For instance, Ishimu Jaramogi. Have you heard of him?
No.
No? You should have.
So I'm sure I could. There's a lot of people.
She's a very patient.
I was just wondering about a historical picture of a particular corner and a picture that is, or a photograph that is now. So then, now, and where are we going type of thing. And solicit comments from people who lived there many years ago and remember it when it was, a more desolate corner or had other businesses on that particular corner and what used to be there, and then talking about what's there now and possibly what's needed for that particular area. But if you break it down to the little sections and make it more personal, you can get a lot of the antique photos.
Yeah, we do that a lot actually through the city archive of old photos. We'll pull up things like, we do that a lot with like Clark Park or Malcolm X Park, old photos from the 1920s, and then the exact same angle today. We do that a lot, that kind of stuff, because those photos are everywhere. You can find them. Temple has a lot.
Soliciting commentary.
Yeah, those things are great. Have you guys ever been on, what's the site on the Facebook page, like West Philly Historical Photos or something? Have you ever seen that? That is the most active Facebook site I've ever seen in Philadelphia. I mean, they'll put an old photo up of something of the L in 1928, and like 1,700 people will like it. It's amazing. Like, you talk about like what is perfect for social media, finding old pictures and putting them up. I mean, that Facebook page is incredible. If you haven't seen it, it's called like Historical Philly Photos or something like that. It's amazing. We comment, talking about going to places and commenting on photos to get to drive traffic to your own Facebook page. I try to go there as often as I can if there's ever a West Philly picture and say something as West Philly local, and it always drives traffic to our Facebook page.
Not to mention, I mean, if, and this could go for both of you guys, if you have photos of your events or your lawyers, you tag someone who's on Facebook, and then, right away, everybody in that Facebook group, that every one of that person's friends will see their photo, and very likely will there's a good possibility they can like your organization. So that's a very effective tool to do some kind of clever outreach, especially if they're on Facebook. If we have time, I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about Beautiful Social, because I think that's really, can I ask a Beautiful Social question? Because it's really relevant, or, yeah. No, I just think it's very interesting, because you're having students help nonprofits with their social media, right? And that's obviously what this group is about. And one of the biggest problems we run into every time, and it came up in this conversation, is like, we don't have the time. We're an organization. These are all great ideas, but we're so busy. So I would just be curious, to talk maybe a little bit more about this and the challenges. The first thing that comes to my mind is, can a student really go into an organization and be a voice for them? That seems right away to be a great challenge, because there has to be a lot of trust there, and there's, so I don't know. I don't have a specific question, but I'm very curious about it.
And that is a tricky thing we rely so much on word of mouth for that, because I think the initial reaction from people is like, what can a 20-year-old tell me that I don't already know? And I would also dispel the myths hanging out with 20-year-olds all day, every day, that they don't know as much about this as you think they do. It's like you can watch a lot of television, but you might not be able to make television. That's kind of their thing, is they're on Facebook a lot, but they're not quite sure why it works the way it does. But we like to think that once they get through 3 years of classes with us, and they've done, St. Joe's is very much into service learning, so they've been out doing stuff in the community before. You have to apply to get into the class that works for Beautiful Social, and it's a pretty rigorous application process. You have to show us a portfolio of work that includes video, audio, text, social media work. So you have to have some pretty good chops coming in. And that said, you ain't paying us, so we, you know what I mean? So
Are they actually doing the social media?
they do some of it. What they do is they typically go to organizations that don't have any social media kind of footprint at all, and help them set it up. What they won't do is tweet for you.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, because they don't, I wouldn't want somebody tweeting for me that doesn't know who I am, or kind of doesn't work for me, kind of, just because they don't know the voice. But they talk to nonprofits about voice, about how important voice is, and how you get voice out into your content, right? How to keep consistent voice, I guess, across platforms. So that's what they do. And there's been some success, some failure in that, but it's largely successful. As long as the nonprofits know the expectations coming in, these are students, and what they can give you is time, and some knowledge, but mostly time. And, they're up till 4 in the morning, so they'll work their asses off for you, you know what I mean? So
Students are still doing that?
Oh yeah, it's, I teach a 2 o'clock class, and they're coming in all the way. If I was a consultant, like you are, I guess I would see this as competition to an extent. I don't know, what do you think?
No, I think that what I thought it might be, which I was actually, I guess it's competition with consultants, but there's millions of social media consultants out there. It's not really what I do, but I thought like the need that could really be filled is the person who tweets. Now, I realize that's not an easy thing to do, but it seems like capacity is the major challenge for nonprofits. And if there were people who could intern and somehow do the Facebook posts and do the search engine optimization and do the tweeting, that could be incredibly beneficial to these organizations. So I thought it would be more along those lines.
I guess it may take that turn eventually, because organizations ask us for that all the time. That's really what most people want. Is, can you just come and can somebody just tweet for us? The problem we run into with that, obviously, is that they're students and they're leaving. They're only going to be with you for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and that's it. So they can kind of show you, I think, something, but I'm not sure you want them to do it.
I have a question. I don't know if this was brought up already, but how do you feel about articles coming out about Facebook basically going under, and a lot of young people going to Instagram and Snapchat or something like that? Like, how are you preparing yourself for that social media change, evolution?
we aren't. I mean, it's hard to me.
Not thinking about it.
This is what we're doing. It's something we talk about all the time. But and the question I had for you guys earlier is a sincere question: does anybody know what the hell's going on with Facebook? Because we can't figure it out. Why it's changed. So, I mean, I guess the answer to the question is, I don't have the answer, but what I suspect my wife would say, who does a lot of the social media stuff, is that we're pretty nimble when it comes to platforms. And I wonder to what degree that's like a newspaper kind of question. You know, the newspapers always ask themselves, we can't get young people, but we can get older people. So I wonder if Facebook turns into the newspaper where you don't do it when you're 14, but you do it when you're 30. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Is the answer.
One thing that I've heard, the one thing I've heard speculating about what's happening with Facebook is that they want to move you to sponsor posts to businesses, and so that's sort of their way of doing that is, whatever they did to sort of rejigger the algorithm or whatever it was. That's what's been speculated. So I don't know.
That makes sense. Do you guys do sponsored stuff? Ever?
We've just budgeted for it. We've never done it. So I don't. It's hard for us to really want to spend our dollars on that. I don't know what return we'll get.
Yeah, I have seen. I'm an artist. I'm an artist, and I just recently started an artist Facebook page, and also someone else who I had known had started an artist Facebook page as well. And we got to about 170 something likes, I guess just naturally on its own, and then it just kind of stopped there. And then I did a contest where 2 people could win drawings, if they liked my page and then signed up for my email list for my website. But her Facebook, I noticed, she skyrocketed to 2,400 and something likes by paying Facebook. But then I question, are those authentic people? Are they real?
The paid posts work. I mean, they spread out. You can see it in the numbers. It's the authenticity question is a good one. Who are they? Are they just friends of friends of friends who don't live in our neighborhood?
Or just fake.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering, because I've noticed that her likes on individual posts aren't going up. Her posts on her Facebook page are not increasing.
No correlation between the number of.
Yeah, so I wonder, is it marketing, a way Facebook makes money?
I was just going to comment that if it's the same one, the Facebook article that I read is just that generations are choosing different things, and the generations coming up, Facebook is for the adults, so they're choosing other things like that Snapchat, or there's others. So it seems that things are going to, in other words, everyone thinks they're going to be the king, but who knows, maybe that's the mode that moves forward. Different companies keep popping up and grabbing the horde of this generation and that generation, and the only thing you have to know is this corresponds to this age group. I think even in here, it was once talked about that there were different demographics that each of the different social medias touch. The only one I remembered was someone said that Twitter was very big with the African American population. There was another one that Facebook is, of course, Generation X, my generation, and maybe older. But anyhow, demographics that it doesn't. You just got to know where to go.
Right. Yeah. And also, just because they were saying, it's so funny how this one study, whatever it was saying about the teens, and it blows up, But teenagers are going to become adults, and so that's what other things are saying. It's in the short term. It's just they like to be texting amongst themselves. They don't need to broadcast. But you go to college, start having a family, you want to keep in touch with your college roommate. So it doesn't necessarily. And who knows? You don't know what's going to happen with it. But at least some people are saying, well, it doesn't mean that they're never going to use it. It's just that in the short term, they like this immediate, this smaller group, sort of chatty, type of thing, chatty, texty sort of thing. But anyway, we could have a whole forum all on the future of Facebook, and I don't know if we'll never come to any agreement or conclusion, but there's lots going on with it. So anyway, I think we are done with this part of the program. And first of all, I want to thank our presenters. And as usual, we had a very lively crowd. See, it'll always have a good lively crowd, lots of good feedback. The presenters will be staying here afterwards, so please, if you have other things that you want to suggest or talk to them, even whether it's about social media or what you're doing.
For more information, visit phillynetsquared.org or meetup.com/PHLNET2. We produce this program in the studios of Professional Podcasts, a division of the Lubetkin Media Companies in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, on the web at beingthemedia.com. For everyone at Philly Net Squared, this is Steve Lubetkin. Thanks for joining us, and take good care.